My name is Nick King. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Advanced Nuclear Research Centre. We are a centre that specialises in translational activities for our Tier 1 members, and we also concentrate on building up a supply chain of Tier 2 members to help translate industry into industry the research that the university academics deliver for us. As I'm a secondee, so I'm slightly different in that one of our Tier 1 members, Babcock International, have paid for me to come and work inside the ANRC full time as the Chief Operating Officer, and I've had 4 very enjoyable years doing exactly that.
Okay, and then, so what brought the ANRC to AMRL?
Okay, so the AMRL has a capability that we have advertised to our Tier 1 members in all of our presentations to the Tier 1s. We try and make a point of introducing a new capability to our Tier 1 members at our various governance boards and technical meetings, and we offer a guest speaker slot to promote the capabilities of the various research centres at Strathclyde. And the AMRL is a really good example of capability that is of immense use to our Tier 1 members. And it was through one of those visits by one of our Tier 1 members that we were able to identify a very sensitive project with quite a high degree of both commercial and security classifications, that the AMRL were able to meet all of those requirements really well, both confidentiality and security clearance. And they did a marvellous piece of investigatory work for us on a valve that had experienced a much higher than expected failure frequency, and to be honest, nobody really knew why, couldn't understand why, and so a thorough investigation by the AMRL produced some really surprising results to do with a different material type than was expected in the seat, but the fact that they were able to do that analysis and present their findings, both on old versions of the valves that have been in service for many years with very few failures, very good failure frequency, the new types that hadn't been used, and new types that had been in use for a short period and then subsequently failed, allowed them to present some very clear findings that were extremely useful to the clients.
Well, that's so interesting. And then, so how have you found your experience working with the AMRL?
The AMRL are a delightful team. They really are. I love working with Tizzy and Fiona. They're always enthusiastic and only pleased to help. And so much so that actually, whilst I was on holiday earlier this year, I came across I was actually in North Berwick, and I came across a lobster hatchery, and I know you're wondering where on earth is this going. So I came across a lobster hatchery that's been set up, and effectively what the fishermen do, is when they catch lobsters that are pregnant females, they call them buried hens. And instead of putting them in the pot, they give them to the hatchery. The hatchery harvests the eggs, hatch the eggs, and then in big plastic tubs, they feed these baby lobsters until they get to about an inch in length, and then they release them. And they have released hundreds of thousands of these little baby lobsters, or at least they would release hundreds of thousands of these baby lobsters. But unless they feed them every 3 or 4 hours, they eat themselves. So their survival rate is very low. And I was talking to the chap and I said, well, why don't you get an automated feeder machine? And he said, I've tried very hard, but because of the humidity and the temperature and the fact that they're in the seawater, they can't get anything that works consistently overnight to feed them. So a quick phone call to Tizzy and Fiona, and I'm very pleased to report that the automated lobster hatchery feeding machine has been accepted as an undergraduate project for next year, and a delighted chap in North Berwick will hopefully take delivery of a design and make project in April or May next year, and he promised me free lobsters if it worked. So that's the sort of just that, you know, absolutely perfect, happy to take it on, that sort of can-do attitude, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a silly example, but it's just typical of what Tizzy and Fiona and to be fair, Alex as well. Alex has done a number of sort of consultancy type work for my particular company, looking again at particularly sensitive information, but Alex has the appropriate clearances to be able to provide some really sound advice on ways forward with sensitive repairs, I think it was in that particular case.
Oh, it's interesting, just the wide scope of projects.
Yeah, lobsters to nuclear submarines, yes.
Well, it is. I haven't heard of that one, but that sounds something different. Do you know what department it'll be? Would it be mechanical engineering?
I think it's going to be done in the MAE department, which I think the AMRL is part of, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so it'll be done in the MAE department, but so less AMRL related, but very much Tizzy and Fiona related.
Yeah, oh, that's funny. Just you in North Berwick on a wee stroll. Oh, that'll be something, and it would be so rewarding to help out.
Well, wouldn't it? I mean, yes. So there's my bit for the environment and sustainability done, and yeah, and if I can get a free lobster out of it, I'll be delighted.
You're getting the lobsters. That's fantastic. Oh wow. Okay, and then, am I allowed to ask just any highlights of working with the AMRL?
What I particularly value, and I know that our Tier 1 members value, is the professionalism. That's what comes across. Yes, they are an academic institution, and I'm not for a minute suggesting that academics can't be professional, but the fact that they know and understand industry requirements, the fact that they are very sensitive to the security aspects, to the classification aspects, to the confidentiality aspects, are very happy to work within those particular constraints, and you know, effectively you what's the advert? It does what it says on the tin, and that's very definitely been my experience of working with the AMRL. They do what they say they're going to do, and you can't really ask for more than that.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, and they're all, I find Tizzy and Fiona, they're very enthusiastic as well. Any challenge you've sort of come up, your lobsters is a great example. They're always
yes,
keen.
And I can name a couple more, but yeah, no, and I think they're probably beginning to dread the quick email that I go, you know, any chance that you're available for a quick chat. They must groan and go, oh God, what's he want this time? But they're always good at hiding it, let's put it that way.
Oh no, I'm sure they're delighted to help in any way. I think that is they don't see another project as just another project. Like they sort of take it.
Yes,
each one in a different.
Very definitely. Everything is delivered in a very professional. That's the right word for it. In a very professional manner. It's a way of working that industry recognise and respond to. So from that point of view, it's really easy actually to sell their services.
No, it makes such a difference, and they're so enjoyable to work with as well. They're lovely to just talk to, and if you just need advice on something, even something maybe not that important or something very important, they're always happy to
Yep.
show their expertise in any aspect.
Very true. Very true.